I haven't done a video game video in a while, and I want to talk about Dawn of War again. The first time I talked about Dawn of War, I talked about the sheer incompetence of the company behind them, that half of their games did not have the right key codes. And then you had to call tech support, and they had to help you out, and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and that's more trouble than a paying customer should have to go through. I mean, you fucking paid for the game, and then you need this runaround just to be able to install it. That's some bullshit. And, you know, when I call tech support, they help me out, and then it turns around, and another one of my CDs doesn't have a proper CD code. So I would have to call them back and shit, and that's way too much trouble for what I know is going to amount to shitty multiplayer. Because there's only two ways multiplayer can go. You either get the people that pick the broken builds, or you get the people that pick their favorite builds. Which means every multiplayer game is either going to be saturated with Space Marines, or saturated with Chaos because the defiler is fucking overpowered. So, unless you want to play another Team Fortress 2 where the team with the most engineers wins, you stick to Skirmish. Skirmish is AI battle where you pick your team, you pick what kind of mission you do, things like that. And to me that seems more fun to be able to actually mix it up and not rely on stupid ass players to pick their broken and cheap builds and shit. So that's one reason. Another reason is because Dawn of War does not have voice chat. I don't know how old this game is, but I would think that they could have voice chat. And you tend to have a lot more fun when people are freaking out over their mics. And you won't get that in Dawn of War. So, you know, that robs you of that enjoyment. Anyway, I don't even really want to talk about how the game developers are all wrong. I don't even want to talk about how Relic Company joined the Valve Mafia, and Dawn of War 2 is on Steam, so, you know, the only way I would ever play that is if I pirated the bitch, and then I'd be playing Skirmish anyway. So, my point is that about the game itself, about, you know, the factions. So, with, like, the Guardsmen, for instance. Guardsmen are known for being cannon fodder. There's enough fluff in Warhammer 40k to be able to stick to the storyline and make it resemble game mechanics. So, Guardsmen are nearly infantum in numbers. They're not powerful at all. So, you would think in-game Guardsmen would have millions of fucking units. You'd be seeing like a whole screen of fucking soldiers, but then they get slaughtered. They're not very good at offense, but they will overwhelm you. And that would be good for capturing points. But that's not how Guardsmen play at all. Guardsmen require tactics. I'm not saying the Guardsmen faction is bad. I'm just saying they don't play anything like Guardsmen should, you know. And that's how are you going to claim this is a Warhammer 40k game if you're not going to stick to Warhammer 40k, you know? And but my biggest upset is like the Necrons, because I personally am a Necrons fan. And in older editions, Necrons were like the Cthulhu. They were these Eldritch abominations. You didn't know a whole lot about them. They just were there. They existed. They were dark. They were scary, you know. And then in 5th edition, they decided to tell you everything about the Necrons. The Necrons' maiden name, everything. And they turned into... And in some ways, I think they are better, because the Necrons now make sense. They are these sentient androids that descend from a very, very old alien race, and they worship very, very old gods that predate the Chaos gods, and these older gods are butt mad at the Chaos gods, and have demanded that the Necrons act in their will to close the warp gates, basically just shut down all psychic activity, and destroy all life, everything, down to the last microbe, because sentient life has a warp signature. It has like some kind of DNA structure that actually is akin to being influenced by chaos. So it's not enough to just shut the gates on chaos. They actually want to kill everything, anything that even resembles remotely chaos. And that's pretty interesting. Kind of reminds me of moderators. So what I mean is chaos reminds me of moderators, and my reaction to them is like the necrons. So what I'm saying is that as the necrons function in fluff in the storyline is that they are this ancient civilization that sleeps most of the time. In reality, they don't fight all that often, but when they do, watch your back. So you would think the part where the Necron infantry is slow, I can understand. They're slow moving, they simply destroy anything in their path. I can understand that much. What sucks about the Necrons is most of their units cannot fucking capture points. Now, if you're an ancient race that is asleep below pretty much every planet, and you're like kind of Egyptian in style, you have like ancient hieroglyphics, you have these walking pyramids and shit, and you just spring up out of the bottom of the earth, you would think that you would know a thing or two about capturing a point way. And yet, most Necrons can't do shit. In fact, they rely pretty much entirely on their building units to capture points. And building units should be left for building things, not for capturing points. So not only do you have to guard your builders so that they can capture points, but then they're not busy building. This does not seem like what the Necrons are doing. The Necrons are, sleeping, and then when they're not sleeping, they're fucking assaulting everything to the point of nothingness. And so that kind of irks me. The reason probably I like RTS games is, and that's why I can't give this too much negativity. I mean, if this were any other game, I would have probably slaughtered them by now. I would have just talked about their mothers. I would have said that they are just diabolical. Fucking, any gaming company is just a racket. That's why I don't consider myself a gamer. I like video games, but I hate what this has become. I hate what it used to be too. It's never been a legitimate business. It's just they've changed their tactics to even more vile. And, I just can't understand how people can waste their money for an organized crime syndicate that doesn't even give a shit about you enough to respect you as the consumer. You're putting food on their plate, and they still treat you like shit. They treat you like you're the criminal. You need to do all these things and prove that you bought the game with a key activation code and shit. And then you gotta register on Steam. And then Steam can delete your account whenever they want to. And not only do you comply with all of that, but then you drag down people with you. When someone does get, wronged by Valve or whatever, you defend Valve. What the fuck is wrong with you? As much money as you spend on your hobby, and as badly as you yourself get treated, why the fuck are you defending Valve of all people? But I'm getting off subject here. What I'm basically saying is that it could have been so much better if it had just stuck to what Warhammer 40k is. Now, is it a bad RTS game? No. But it's not Warhammer 40k. I mean, it has Warhammer 40k things in it. It has the characters, obviously. It has the factions. It has the look about it. But it doesn't play like Warhammer 40k. And maybe even the miniature game doesn't play like Warhammer 40k should. But, I don't know. To me, that just seems like an important aspect. If you're going to base it off a storyline, try to make the mechanics resemble and reflect that of the storyline. My favorite game as a child was Dune on the Sega Genesis. And so I think that has a lot to do with the fact why I give more leeway to RTS games. Because ever since I was a kid, I have loved RTS games. Mostly because of that. Because I take pride in, being strategic. I take pride in actually thinking about the consequences of my enemy coming at me and what I'm doing and building up my defenses and things like that. I also liked Warcraft on the Sega Saturn. I was a Sega kid, so. But I lost my train of thought now here. But essentially what I'm just saying is that it's a good game, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough to actually buy. You should just pirate it. And considering how all gaming companies act, regardless of who they are, regardless of what they claim, They're all criminals, they're all crooked, they're all scumbags. More reason to pirate it. And I know that there are a bunch of moral fags out there. They're going to be like, oh, you're just making excuses for yourself. Meh, meh, meh. No. No, I'm not the one with the fucking money. I'm not the one with the ability to produce these kinds of games. And I'm not the one screwing you over. I don't need excuses. I'm just giving you the heads up. If you're stupid enough to waste what little money you have to give to these cretins, that's on you. But that upsets me, that not only do they have that power to begin with, but then you help them have that power by giving more to them, and then trying to think you can shame me or lecture me on promoting piracy. Because you know what? I don't pirate all that much. My computer does not have enough memory to pirate every single game I would want to pirate. Not to mention, I wouldn't know where to look anyway. Because you know what? Mega Upload got shut down. And Mega Upload was one of the best pirating sites there was. And Rapid Share completely sold out. And now they expect you to do this run around and register and bullshit. I knew they were selling out when they started making you wait like a fucking hour to download it without registry. And when you register, you have to pay a fee and stuff. So you even need to pay a fee to fucking pirate. That's not stealing at that point. That's no different than Netflix. Oh, but you know, whatever. The trademark and the copyright, it's all bullshit. It's all a racket. It's all organized crime. That's why I don't take anything these moral fags say seriously. Because if you're not going to see the real criminals behind everything, you have no business fucking judging, you know, Joe Schmo just stealing whatever. I could fucking steal something out of a grocery store, and I would still be morally superior to these fuckwits that run the gaming industry, or any industry for that matter. You know, steal stuff. It's yours. You're a worker of the world. You work your ass off to sustain this society. You're owed it. You're entitled to it. That's what I'm trying to get across. And I'm just saying that, you know, I just wanted to make a criticism of this game for the actual game. Not the moral implications of the game, but in actuality what the game is. What's good about it, what's bad about it. Is it I don't think people quite understand that I'm not just some negative guy that thinks everything in the world is bad. If something is good, I want to point it out. More so, I want to point it out. Because I want to reward them for doing good things. If they made something good, I want to say, hey, you did a good job. That way, they're enticed to do a good job next time. I want people to reproduce more positivity. Precisely because there is so much bad in the world, we need to excel the good people. We need to bring them up. We need to compliment them. We need to appreciate them. And you don't get that in a capitalist society. So, I guess that's it for now.